Today I'm going to be giving away a free t-shirt, bring you a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and revealing the books I bought this week. I know what you're thinking. You don't have a Comic Hero... Vic, you don't have a Comic Hero tee on. Well, I'm about to change that. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light! There, that's better. Now then, how y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching The Comic Hero Show. Welcome to this week's edition of The Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am The Comic Hero. Coming to you from Klutz Comics here in Monroe, Louisiana. And folks, this is a Kyle Rayner Green Lantern themed Comic Hero team, which explains the whole Green Lantern oath and transformation at the beginning of the show. I hope you all enjoyed that. I also made one for my friend Adam Hodge, who just won a free Comic Hero tee in last week's episode. This was one of the shirts that was featured in the Viewer's Choice episode vote last month. Well, last month and July. And this one didn't exactly make the cut in, as opposed to some other shirts that I wore. But I'm glad to finally be wearing this one. All right. Speaking of t-shirts, it's time to give away a free one. All right, last week's episode, I asked, who is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet? Well, the correct answer is Perry White. And 9 people have answered correctly, and I'm about to draw the name of the winner. And that person who wins the free Comic Hero tee for this week's episode is... Phyllis O'Toole from Monroe, Louisiana. So congratulations, Phyllis. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. All right. Here's the question for next week's episode. What Spider-Man villain almost married Aunt May? Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free Comic Hero tee in next week's episode. Now, no one has requested a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. However, I have one of my own. Representing DC, we have Nightwing. And representing Marvel, we have Spider-Man 2099. These two are going to duke it out in a segment I like to call...
The Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, it's Nightwing versus Spider-Man 2099. Nightwing is an expert acrobat and aerialist and a highly skilled martial artist and hand-to-hand combatant who utilizes high-tech equipment and weapons. Spider-Man 2099 possesses superhuman strength, speed, agility, reflexes, durability, and hearing, enhanced healing and health, enhanced vision, telescopic and night vision, genius-level intelligence, talons on fingers and toes that enable wall crawling, act as weapons, and can be folded down, organic webbing from forearms, and temporary paralysis venom from fangs. He wears an indestructible costume of unstable molecule fabric with airfoil that allows gliding. Who will win? Get ready for a turbulent fight. This would start off as a chase throughout New York. Spider-Man 2099 would try to lose Nightwing by shooting organic webs at him. Nightwing, relying on his acrobatic and aerialistic skills, would dodge the webs. The latter, in return, would hurl both of his industrial metal dowels at Spider-Man 2099. The webhead from the future would grab both of them and say, "I saw that coming from a mile away." Nightwing would ask, "Yeah, but did you see this?" Electric charges would emit from both dowels and electrocute Spider-Man. This fight now goes to the streets. Hand-to-hand combat would then ensue. This is Nightwing's expertise. He would have the upper hand until Spider-Man 2099 decides to play dirty. He would take the talons on his fingers and rake them across the former Robin's face and chest. After delivering a series of punches and kicks, he would then get even dirtier and bite Nightwing's neck, causing him to be temporarily paralyzed. Spider-Man 2099 wins, and that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. And if anyone has a fight request for future episodes, contact info is down there. All right, let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
All right, first up is Aquaman number 4. This is part 4 of The Drowning, which is the opening story arc to this book. And the Aquaman, as well as some of the other dignitaries of Atlantis, had decided to hold some function over at the Spindrift Station, which was the embassy that connected both the Atlanteans and everyone and all the land dwellers, as some of the folks of Atlantis would call them. And along the way, there was some person who was claiming to be a reporter from the Daily Planet who was actually invited. Well, it turned out that person was actually Black Manta. And Black Manta really wanted nobody but Aquaman. Well, he killed some people along the way, but Aquaman was saying, okay, you want to kill me, go ahead. Well, he tried, but then Aquaman beat him up and said, he's like, I would kill you, but I'm not you. Now, the reason being was because many years ago, before, when he was just Arthur Curry, he accidentally killed the Black Manta's father. So this was all out of revenge. And I guess he was saying, okay, if you kill me, you're no better than I was for accidentally killing your father. He's like, dang it! And that ends that fight. Oh, and also, we find out that Aquaman is being, you can tell by the cover that he was actually arrested by the U.S. government and is about to be sent to a maximum security stockade in Washington, D.C. All right, next up is Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps number 3. In this opening story arc, we see Hal trying to find members of the Green Lantern Corps that have gone missing. But while he's doing that, he ends up running into the Sinestro Corps, and it's not an easy task. And also, we see other members of the Green Lantern Corps finally back in the correct universe and the correct timeline as well. All right, next up are 2 issues of the same book, and those issues are The Flash number 5 and The Flash number 6. Now, this opening story arc, we see that the Speed Force, well, everyone in Central City gains powers via the Speed Force. They all get struck by lightning, and they're able to challenge the Speed Force, and then it's up to the Flash to teach everyone how to use their powers. And also, we find out that one of his co-workers in the Central City Police Department, August Hart, not only gains them, but he wants to be the Flash's new partner. And everything's going well, but then they find out about a new villain who calls himself Godspeed. And he's kind of think the Flash, only difference is he kills people. That's his rendition of justice. Kind of harsh. All right, next up is, whoa! Sorry, folks. Next up is Green Lanterns number 4. Now, this is the opening story arc entitled Red Planet. Now, Hal Jordan has named both Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz the Green Lanterns of Space Sector, or assigned them to Space Sector 2814. Now, this takes place shortly after the first story arc of Hal Jordan and Green Lantern Corps, which is still going on. But, and also these two are Justice Leaguers. They find out that the Red Lantern Corps are alive and well, and they want Space Sector 2814 to themselves, namely Earth. And they're spreading hate. And one of the first victims of the Red Lanterns was Jessica Cruz's sister. So
you know how personal this is. And for those of y'all that are old enough, if you're about my age or older, wait, Claire, do you remember the TV show used to come on Saturday nights called Hunter?
I don't remember watching it, but I know of it.
Oh, okay, well, the two main characters in the show were detectives Rick Hunter and Dee Dee McCall, and I kind of and the way they the relationship between Simon Bass and Jessica Cruz is kind of like that. And only difference is there's no chief; it's just them. All right, and finally, Action Comics number 963. This is the second story arc of this book since Rebirth, and this one is called Who is Clark Kent? Now, for the longest time, we've been trying to figure out, all right, if there's a if the Superman in the New 52 universe died, and then there's a new Superman, why is there a Clark Kent present at the same time? I think this is, I mean, I've been really enjoying this. The first story arc, we find out that Superman from the original DC universe goes up against the New 52 version of Doomsday. And he defeats him, and then he ends up sending him into the Phantom Zone. Now, Superman only thinks he's in prison in the Phantom Zone, but this mysterious person who has been watching and decided, oh, you sent to the Phantom Zone? Well, oh, no, you're not. He's mine. And he ends up intercepting him from the transport to the Phantom Zone, and that's how the first story arc ends. All right, that's 6 up on, and really, that is really 6. I counted them before I revealed 6. I'm not gonna screw up like I did last week. That's 6 I bought, which brings the total number of comics I bought since December of 1997 to 7,467. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And here's the question for the free Comic Hero Tea for next week's episode. What classic Spider-Man villain almost married Aunt May? Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free Comic Hero Tea in next week's episode of the show. But if you don't mind buying a shirt from me, for adults they're $10, and for children they're $5. Oh, and a very, very special happy birthday to the lovely Shirley Wafer, one of my good friends from my hometown of Homer, Louisiana. Happy birthday, Shirley. And also, even though she didn't win Miss Louisiana, congratulations. I mean, she didn't win, oops, I'm sorry, Justin. You already are Miss Louisiana. Even though she didn't win Miss America on Sunday, congratulations to Miss Louisiana, Justine Kerr. I was cheering for you. I was watching the Miss America pageant, and I know you didn't win, but I know you did this entire state proud. And for your efforts, you are going to get a Comic Hero Tea on the house. Oh, and be sure that after you watch this, watch episode 4 of Comically Speaking. I'm going to be talking about a lot of great subjects on there. One of my friends that watches both shows has pretty much said that the Comic Hero Show and Comically Speaking are pretty much Jekyll and Hyde, with the Comic Hero Show being, the Dr. Jekyll, mainly because I like to have fun on here, and I like to like make people smile or try to. Whereas Comically Speaking, I can be mean at times. Well, not all the time, but more. Well, really in a What Stinks segment, but any other segment, I'm pretty nice. Oh, and in a few weeks, episode 132, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, episode 132. It will be the anniversary episode. 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, on October, I remember the day. It was Wednesday, October 2nd, 2013. I did the very first episode of the Comic Hero Show, and there will be an anniversary episode. I have a few things in stores, but for the most part, it's probably going to be, for the most part, it's going to be like any other episode. Only a little more exciting. And I'm also, and with that in mind, I'm also inviting a lot of folks to come out when I do the anniversary episode, which is episode 132. And after that, I'm going to Louisiana Comic-Con. There's going to be a split edition of the show at both Acadiana Comics in Lafayette and at Louisiana Comic-Con at the Cajun Dome Convention Center in Lafayette. So be sure to watch. All right, I'm Victor Nunley. I'm the Comic Hero. We'll see you next week for episode 130. Right back here at Clint's Comics. So till then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero, and beware my power. Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. Coming to you from Clint's Comics here in Monroe. And I was too late doing I Am the Comic Hero.